Here's a quick lesson on finding the greatest common factor, or otherwise known as the GCF. First of all, it's important to understand what we're looking for. The greatest common factor is the largest number that can divide into two or more numbers without a remainder. Let's explore this a little bit deeper. Let's look at the first word, factors. Factors are all the numbers that can multiply to get a certain result. A T-chart is a very well organized and useful way to collect this information. Let's look at the number 18. If I wanted to find in a very organized way all the factors, all the numbers that multiply to give me 18, I would take the number 18, draw a little T-chart, and then I would start with the most basic, easiest number, the number 1. And I'm going to put the number 1 on the left side and just really ask myself, well, one of two questions. I either can ask myself 1 times what number equals 18, or I can do the opposite of multiplication, which is division, and say 18 divided by 1. Well, this is an easy one because everyone knows that 1 times 18 is equal to 18. But this also shows us something that's very important to remember. The smallest positive factor of all numbers will always be 1, and the largest factor of all numbers will be the number itself, in this case, 18. But we're not finished, so let's continue. 18 happens to be an even number, which means that the number, you guessed it, 2, will also always be a factor of all even numbers. So now I could say either 18 divided by 2, or I can ask myself 2 times what number equals 18. And we all know that 2 times 9 is equal to 18. But in this case, we're still not finished. So I'm going to extend this T-chart, and after 2 comes 3. Does 3 go into 18? Well, if I'm not positive, I can always use my calculator. But 3 happens to be a factor of 18, because a lot of us already know that 18 divided by 3, or 3 times what number equals 18, and we're going to put the number 6 here. Now, I'm still going to check the other ones kind of quickly. 4, and when I put that in the calculator, I see that it goes in with a decimal point. And I'm not really interested in decimals when I'm looking for factors. And then it comes 5, and I know that 5 only goes into numbers that end in 0 and 5. So I think we're finished. So all the factors of 18 in order from smallest to largest are 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. Go ahead and pause your screen and see if you can do the same for the number 24. Okay, let's see how you did. I'm going to take the number 24. I'm going to put a T-chart right there. I'm going to start with that same number 1 times 24. 24 happens to be even, so 2 would be a factor. 24 divided by 2 is 12. And I think there's another one. 3. One of the kind of tricks I use to know if 3 goes into a number, I take all the digits of the number, in this case just a 2 and a 4, and I add them in my mind. I say 2 plus 4 equals 6. If 3 goes into that number, in this case 6, that means 3 also goes into 24. So I'm going to put 3 here, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. And now I'm going to go on to the next one, 4. If I'm not positive, I might go on my calculator and do 24 divided by 4. Up, and it gives me a nice clean number without a decimal, 6. The last possibility would only be 5, and we know that 5 only goes into numbers that end in 0 and 5. So I think we're finished. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24 are all factors of 24. Let's continue. Go ahead and see if you could find the factors of these 4 different numbers for a little bit extra practice. Okay, let's see how you did. I'm going to draw my T-chart. I'm always going to start with 1 and the number itself. 8 is an even number, so I have 2 and 4. 3 does not go into 8, so I'm done with 8. 1, 2, 4, and 8 are all the factors, all the numbers that multiply to give you 8. The opposite of multiplication is division. So these are also the numbers that I can divide by 8 and also get nice, clean, whole numbers. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 8 divided by 1 is 8. Let's try number 12. Here's my T-chart. I'm going to always start with 1. Number itself. 12 is an even number. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Here's my little 3 trick. 1 plus 2 is 3. Oh, 3 must go into 12 as well. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. The factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Let's try 27. I'm going to draw my T-chart. I'm going to start with 1 and the number itself. Now 27 is the first number we've encountered that's not an even number. That means 2 will not be a factor of 27. 27 is an odd number. However, in my head, I kind of add 2 plus 7 to get 9, and 3 goes into 9, which means 3 must also go into 27. And sure enough, it does. 27 divided by 3 is 9. I'm still going to try 4, no. 5, no. 6, no. 7, no. 8, nope, that's it. 27 has 4 factors, 1, 3, 9, and 27. Finally, we get to the number 20. Here's my T-chart. 1 times 20. It's an even number, so 2 goes in there. 20 divided by 2 is 10. 2 plus 0 is 2. Oh, 3 doesn't go into 2, so 3 is not going to be a factor here. However, 4 will go into 20, and 20 divided by 4 is 5, which makes a lot of sense because, as we said earlier, 5 goes into all numbers that end in 0 and 5. And they're the factors of 20. 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. Let's continue. Okay, well, we're looking for the greatest common factor as our ultimate goal, so we know what factors are now. So what does the word common mean? Well, we're all kind of used to using the word when you say you have something in common with somebody else. It's something that you share with them or something that's similar that you have with that other person. Well, common in the greatest common factor are all the factors that 2 or more numbers both share. So here we have the T-chart and all the factors already drawn for us for 36 and 48. So I'm going to circle all of the factors that are on both of those lists. Well, we know that number 1 will always be a common factor of all numbers. And I can see that they both have the number 2, so I'm going to circle that one. They both have the number 3. They both have the number 4. They both have the number 6. I'll circle both of them here. Why not? Then 9 and 8. Oh, they both have a number 12. I'll circle that one on both lists. And I believe that is it. So all of those numbers that are circled are just factors that 36 and 48 both have in common. Those would be called common factors. But if you remember back on the first screen, we're not that interested in common factors. We're much more interested in the greatest common factor. And the greatest, which most of us already know, will be the biggest or the largest, right? The greatest is the largest number of all the common factors. So the greatest common factor is the largest number of the common factors. So let's take a look again at the numbers that we just circled, right? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Well, if what we're really concerned with is the greatest one of those numbers, all we need to do is find the largest one they have in common. And I could see, and I hope you can too, that the number 12 is the largest factor that both of these numbers, 36 and 48, share. Therefore, the greatest common factor, also known as the GCF, will be equal to 12. And that's the story of the greatest common factor. So let's take a look at 3 different problems. Pause your video for a moment and see if you can find the greatest common factor using all of the steps that we just did, using T-charts to find all the factors, circling all the common factors, and then finding the greatest one on both lists. Okay, let's see how you did. Let's kind of go quickly here and start with our T-charts. Here's a T-chart. I have 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. Here we have 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Now I'm going to circle all the numbers that they have in common. And I could see that my greatest common factor must be equal to the largest one that they both have in common. And the largest number that 20 and 24 have in common is 4. Okay, let's try the next one. Oh, these numbers are getting a bit bigger. They might have a lot more factors. Be careful. 1 times 32. 2 times 16, 4 times 8, I don't think 5, I don't think 6, 7. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32. Let's try 48. 1 times 48, 2 times 24, 3 times 16, 4 times 12. Wow, this one has a lot of factors. And 6 times 8. Okay, well, now I'm going to take a different strategy. Now I'm kind of getting used to finding the greatest common factor. So instead of circling all of the common factors from smallest to largest, why not start from the largest to the smallest? And not only that, I'm going to start with the smaller of the 2 numbers, number 32. And 32 would be the first possible number, and that's not a common factor. But then I get to this number right here, 16, which is the second largest factor of 32. And if that number is on the other list, I don't really have to go any further. I could see that 16 must be my greatest common factor between 32 and 48. Okay, here we are at the last problem of the day. 27. Okay, we did that one before. So 1 times 27. 2 doesn't go in because it's an odd number, but we have 3 times 9. And that's it. 36. Going to have a few more. 1 times 36. 2 times 18. And 3 definitely goes in there. 12 times. 4 times 9. And 36 happens to be a square number, which we're going to get into later in the year, which means that 6 and 6 are also factors. Well, I'm going to go to the number 27 because it's the smaller number, and I'm going to start from the top, the biggest one. Well, 27 is not on the other list, so it can't be 27. But the next biggest factor of 27 is 9, and 9 happens to be on the other list. So therefore, the greatest common factor between 27 and 36 must be 9. I hope it is a little bit clearer now on how to find the greatest common factor.